Hello and welcome to all our viewers in Nigeria and around the world to News Cycle on Global Television, coming to you live from the nation's capital, Abuja. I am Mukhtar Kasim. A quick reminder that Global Television is on DSTV channel 365 and on StarTimes channel 276. We begin from the presidency, where Vice President Kashim Shettima has arrived in Conakry to represent President Bola Tinubu at the inauguration of Guinea's president-elect Mamadi Doumbouya following his victory in the December 2025 election. The event marks the formal end of Guinea's four-year military transition and underscores Nigeria's commitment to democratic governance within the ECOWAS sub-region. The visit also reinforces Nigeria's role as a regional stabilizing force while advancing diplomatic and economic cooperation between both countries. In the meantime, President Bola Tinubu has expressed deep sorrow over the death of Imam Abdullahi Abubakar, the chief imam of Ungar village in Barkin Ladi local government area of Plateau State, whose courageous action during the 2018 communal crisis earned him national and international recognition. The late cleric, who died at the age of 92, became widely celebrated after sheltering over 200 Christians in his mosque and resident at the height of violent attacks, standing as a powerful symbol of interfaith harmony and humanity. President Tinubu described the Imam as a rare moral compass and urged religious and community leaders across Nigeria to draw inspiration from his legacy by promoting tolerance, unity, and peaceful existence. The Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mohammed Idris, says President Bola Tinubu is laying strong foundations for long-term economic growth through bold policy decisions aimed at stabilizing the economy and restoring confidence. Speaking while receiving members of the Grassroots Advocacy for Tinubu 2027 in Abuja, Idris said signs of early recovery were emerging across key sectors despite difficult choices taken by the administration. He reaffirmed the government's commitment to inclusive development and effective communication, stressing that public engagement and accurate information are critical to national stability. And now to Rivers State, where the political tension has taken a dramatic turn as the State House of Assembly formally resumes impeachment proceedings against Governor Siminalayi Fubara and his deputy, pushing the crisis into a decisive constitutional phase. Samuel Odi has the details.
The Rivers State House of Assembly has reignited the impeachment process against the governor and deputy governor, signaling an escalation in the ongoing power struggle between the legislature and the executive. Addressing journalists in Port Harcourt, the leadership of the Assembly dismissed claims that the move is politically motivated, insisting that the action is rooted strictly in constitutional responsibility. Lawmakers urged that the executive arm has persistently violated the provision of Constitution and failed to respect agreement previously reached to restore harmony in governance.
In a bid to gain or win sympathy for the governor or deputy governor, many who do not mean well for Rivers State or democracy simply reduce everything to disagreement between our political leader and the governor. The real problem is that the governor and his deputy are at war.
The Assembly further expressed disappointment over what it described as a rejection of peace efforts extended to the executive. According to lawmakers, the gesture was met with hostility, including alleged media attack orchestrated by aides of the governor, aimed at intimidating legislators and forcing them to abandon the impeachment process, now resumed for the third term.
During the pendency of this appeal, we found out that the governor and the deputy governor, they have all employed their media boys and aides to continuously attack the Rivers State House of Assembly.
Convinced that their strategy is to intimidate us into withdrawing the impeachment process for the third time while they continue their infractions on the Constitution and the law.
Lawmakers also condemned the attempt to reignite the constitutional dispute as an ethnic or tribal conflict, warning that such narratives are dangerous and capable of undermining national unity.
If all of us want peace, if we want justice, if we want a society that is ordered, then we must be subject to the provisions of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Following deliberations, the House, presided over by Speaker retired Honorable Martins, conducted a vote on whether to proceed with the impeachment investigation. 25 lawmakers voted in favor with no dissenting vote and no aberration. Invoking Section 188, subsection 5 of the 1999 Constitution, the Speaker announced that the resolution would be forwarded to the Chief Judge of Rivers State for the next stage of action.
By virtue of Section 188, subsection 5, I will ensure that the resolution of this House is immediately communicated to the Chief Judge of Rivers State.
The Chief Judge is now expected to constitute a 7-man panel to investigate the allegation against the Governor and Deputy Governor as impeachment process advances into its full constitutional course. Samuel Odi for Global Television News.
In a related development, a Rivers State High Court has issued an interim injunction temporarily halting further action on the impeachment proceedings against Governor Siminalayi Fubara and his deputy Ngozi Odu. The court to reinstate the Speaker of the House of Assembly, the Chief Judge, and other parties from taking steps to advance the impeachment process for 7 days. The matter has been adjourned to January 23, 2026, as the political crisis shifts into a legal contest. And now to security matters, where troops of Operation Hatankai have killed several terrorists in Adamawa and Borno State after successfully repelling coordinated attacks on military positions across the northeast. The military said alert troops engaged the attackers at a patrol base in Madagali local government area of Adamawa State, forcing them to retreat without casualties to government forces. Follow-up clearance operations were carried out to eliminate remaining threats and ensure the safety of both civilian and military personnel. Operatives of the Department of State Services have rescued 2 pastors and a church member abducted by armed bandits traveling from Kaduna to Niger State. The victims were freed during the ongoing security operations, bringing relief to their families and the Christian community across the region. Church leaders commended the DSS for the successful rescue and called for sustained collaboration among security agencies, religious leaders, and communities to combat insecurity. Now, away from security matters, water remains the backbone of life, health, and development. Yet, for millions of Nigerians, access to safe and clean water is still a daily struggle. From homes to farms and hospitals, water determines survival, dignity, and economic progress. Our correspondent Sadia Yakubu reports on why water remains one of the humanity's most critical needs.
Water is the foundation of life. It sustains human existence, supports development, and powers everyday activities across communities. From drinking and cooking to sanitation and hygiene, water is central to human survival. The human body relies on water for digestion, blood circulation, temperature regulation, and overall well-being. Unsafe water sources expose communities to preventable diseases such as cholera, typhoid, and diarrhea. Health experts say improved access to potable water remains one of the most effective ways to reduce disease outbreak and child mortality.
Yeah, water is very important because I don't think there is any human being, even animals, they need water. So you can't survive with water, without water.
For many families, steady access to water determines productivity, income, and food security in many rural and semi-urban communities. The burden of water collection falls heavily on women and children. They walk long distance daily in search of water, limiting time for education, work, and personal development.
So even though we don't even bother to eat, but try and possible to take water in minutes, in 24 hours, in second minutes, because it's good. It helps your system, it builds your system. So we should learn how to take water more.
Experts also want that growing population and climate change are putting increasing pressure on water resources. They emphasize the need for water conservation, improved infrastructure, and responsible use. Protecting water sources today is essential to guarantee availability for future generations.
People use water. We drink water, we bath with water, we use it and wash. Then
So water is very important.
So water is very important.
Water is more than a natural resource. It is life, health, dignity, and development. Sadia Yakubu, reporting for Global Television News. Water is the
Head to Jigawa State, where the police command has arrested 20 suspects and recovered 24,000 tablets of illicit drugs during intelligence-led operations across the state. Police said the drugs, valued at over 1 million naira, were intercepted while being transported from Kano for illicit distribution. The suspects have been transferred to the State Criminal Investigation Department for further investigation and prosecution. You're watching the live broadcast of News Cycle. When News Cycle returns, News Cycle continues after this weather forecast, plus business, foreign, and sports stories on the other side of this break. Please stay with us.
Hello and thank you for joining us. Let's take a look at what the weather has in store as we head into Sunday during this Harmattan season. Starting with the northern part of the country, a bit of good news here. We are expecting an improvement in horizontal visibility across most cities. However, if you are in the northwest, you may still notice slight dust haze in the air. Then across the central region, moderate dust haze will persist, with visibility reducing to about 2 to 5 kilometers, especially around parts of the Federal Capital Territory and Minna. Now, turning our attention to the south, we expect a partly cloudy skies in the morning, but keep an eye on the skies later in the day, as there are slim chances of thunderstorms developing over parts of Edo, Oyo, Lagos, Bayelsa, Delta, Rivers, parts of Cross River and Akwa Ibom State. We anticipate an improvement in air quality. However, conditions will remain unhealthy in the northern and north central region, while the southern region is expected to experience air quality levels that are unhealthy for the sensitive groups. For our airline operators and aviation partners, a gentle reminder to always check for the latest weather updates via the NIMET eFlight folder portal. And that's our weather outlook for now. Stay safe, stay informed, and have a great Sunday ahead. I am Akemi Samarda.
You're welcome back from that break, and now to business news, where the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority says Nigeria's petrol importation fell sharply in December 2025, while supply from local refineries increased significantly. Data showed that imports declined by 19%, as domestic refineries led by the Dangote refinery boosted output by 64%. The regulator said daily petrol consumption also rose to its highest level in December, reflecting increased economic activities. Still talking business, 4 major aviation unions have issued a 14-day ultimatum to the management of the Nigerian College of Aviation Technology, NCAT Zaria, warning that workers will withdraw services if the long-delayed review of staff conditions of service is not concluded. The unions, which are the Air Transport Services Senior Staff Association of Nigeria, the National Union of Air Transport Employers, Association of Nigeria Aviation Professionals, and the National Association of Aircraft Pilots and Engineers, said management has shown prolonged indecision and lack of commitment to staff welfare despite repeated engagement and assurances, noting that the NCAT remains the only aviation agency yet to finalize its conditions of service review. They warned that failure to conclude the process within a stipulated period would trigger a total shutdown of activities at the institution, while the NCAT spokesperson, Jude Amadi, said he was unaware of the ultimatum but promised to confirm and respond. The United Nations World Food Programme has warned that Nigeria's northeast is facing its worst hunger crisis in nearly a decade due to deep cuts in humanitarian aid. The agency said thousands are at a risk of catastrophic food shortages, with millions of children projected to suffer malnutrition in 2026. Funding shortfalls have forced a drastic reduction in food assistance, raising fears of worsening humanitarian conditions across the region. And now to news making rounds on the foreign scene. Ugandan opposition leader Bobi Wine says he escaped a police raid on his home and is currently hiding as the country awaits the outcome of a tense election conducted under an internet blockout. The confusion followed earlier reports from his party claiming he was arrested and flown away in an army helicopter, coming a day after polls that were marred by violence, intimidation, and reports of multiple deaths. 81-year-old President Yoweri Museveni appears set to extend his decades-long rule, holding a commanding lead over Wine, the 43-year-old former musician turned politician, amidst growing concerns over the conduct of election and the treatment of opposition figures. Away from Africa, Iran's supreme leader says authorities must break the back of seditionists, blaming United States President Donald Trump for casualties after a deadly crackdown on protesters against the country's clerical leadership. Iran was rocked by weeks of demonstrations sparked by anger over economic hardship that exploded into the biggest protest against the Islamic Republic in more than 3 years. Still on the international scene, United States President Donald Trump has appointed former British Prime Minister Tony Blair to a board overseeing the post-war reconstruction and governance in Gaza. The board, dominated by American officials, will focus on rebuilding investment and regional relations following years of conflict. The move has drawn attention due to Blair's controversial history in the Middle East and Trump's broader vision for Gaza's redevelopment. And now to the exciting world of sports. The 2025 Africa Cup of Nations in Morocco has set a new tournament record after producing 120 goals ahead of Sunday's final, surpassing the previous benchmark of 119 goals set at the 2023 edition in Côte d'Ivoire. The goal surge has been driven by Africa's traditional powerhouses, including Morocco, Senegal, and Nigeria, alongside emerging stars who have matched established names in impact and consistency. With the third-place match and the final still to be played, the goal tally could yet further rise, sealing African Cup of Nations 2025 as the highest scoring and one of the most entertaining tournaments in the competition's history. Still talking sport, Manchester United claimed a statement victory in the Manchester Derby, defeating Manchester City 2-0 at the Old Trafford in what marked Michael Carrick's first match in charge as an interim manager. This brings City's 13-match unbeaten run to an end. Goals from Mbeumo in the 65th minute and Patrick Dogu in the 72nd minute secured the win for United in front of their home fans, with the contest remaining goalless at half-time before United found breakthrough moments later in the second half. The victory delivers a major boost to United as Carrick begins his tenure following his appointment as interim head coach until the end of the season. Away from football to athletics, where Nigerian athlete Brittany Ogumokun has set a new national record in the women's 500 meters after clocking 1 hour, 10 minutes to win silver at the NYC Gotham Cup in New York. The performance eclipsed the long-standing national record of 1 hour, 11 minutes and 49 seconds set in 2016 and marked a significant improvement on Ogumokun's previous personal best, as she opened her 2026 season in record-breaking fashion. The achievement further strengthens her legacy in Nigerian athletics and signals strong form ahead of major international competitions later this year. That's it on News Cycle. A quick reminder that Global Television is on DSTV channel 365, on StarTimes channel 276. Kindly follow us across all our social media platforms, now showing on your screen, using @Global TV NG. I am Mukhtar Kasim, saying a very big thank you for watching.